Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Nëïgsëndöïg Cöcülës show. My name is Nëïgsëndöïg Cöcülës, the namesake for this here podcast. This time around, we have Discord alternatives. Of course, everybody knows what Discord is. If you don't know what Discord is, you're probably old school, and I can't blame you for that. However, I went ahead and deleted my account in 2020 during COVID. Yes, 2020 is when I deleted my Discord account altogether. Now, you may be asking what the reason was. I saw the writing on the wall on the amount of encrapification that was happening to it. And the biggest piece of evidence came earlier this year when Discord, the company, decided to shove digital ID down people's throats. Now, what some of y'all, especially boomers who are pretty ticked off with us zoomers, call age verification, we call this ID verification, or, in the words of people like myself and Sam Bent, digital ID. I mean, look at what they're doing in the UK. By 2029, they want a digital ID? Fluff off. Anyway, this push for digital ID on a lot of different websites was met with quite the resistance. And people should resist this if you want to keep yourself safe online. This Online Safety Act that was found in the UK, things like the Kids Online Safety Act, right here in America, the Earn It Act, they're all digital ID laws. Okay, that's literally what these are. And in America, President Trump, actually, he's not our president, he should completely make these laws null and void, for this violates the Fourth Amendment. If you don't factor in the Patriot Act, which needs to be repealed, it will never be repealed. Anyway, there were many, many users who sought alternatives. So I have a few of them for today. This will include data concerns, privacy, security, and much more. And many people have become wary of this nonsense on Discord, which is good. It is going to be exploited, especially when you take a look at the weaponized JavaScript, TypeScript, or other forms of JavaScript in Discord. There was a renewed interest for finding non-KYC alternatives to Discord. As it is always said on one protocol, KYC is the crime. It is the illicit action. But let's get started with Nëïgsëndöïg. This I use a lot, though that's been changing as of late. This is a GPL3 licensed alternative, which is a powerful environment with all the source code on GitHub. Super Kitten, you might want to bring this stuff over to Codeberg. I think it'd be a better idea, especially considering what Microsoft is doing with GitHub, and they're going to take your code and disregard GPL3, which is copyleft. Now, you do get free animated avatars, emojis, tags, and borders, but there are some more cosmetics where you have to pay around $5 US a month, I think. Actually, there's only just one of those, and it's for some specific thing I'm not going to get into here. This is from the UK, where the VPS is hosted. So in this case, you cannot do any not safe for work stuff. If there is any NSFW, it's getting removed. And then you would have the digital ID. Super Kitten doesn't want that. Now, you can have posts very similar to what you see in the Gilded application, which is no longer a thing. Good riddance. Roblox needs to get rid of their digital ID nonsense too. Now, it does have some community features similar to Discord, though those are not the best right now. That's not a big deal. But For this lack of polish in some cases, you actually don't get tracked at all. It's a no-go in this area. Though you do have an incorrect label of VoIP calls, when in reality these are peer-to-peer calls. There are support for mentions and markdown for those who like that. And you can do video calls and direct messages. This is where I currently host the Cöcülës Nation core server after I ended up leaving Stoat, which is not on this list. Stoat is what used to be called Revolt. However, they ended up having to change the name to Stoat because of supposed copyright. Now, I think it's much, much worse than that. It's not copyright that they had to cite. The developers of Stoat, they have no idea what they're doing. Anyway, it's been said that poor decisions were made, specifically on the modding and admin side of things, as a result of some unsavory behavior. I took a look into some of it myself, and yeah, this is definitely concerning. So I do keep this in the back of my mind. Now, there is a big issue where some weird exception was caught, and I had Sokyo launch the app image from the terminal, since he also uses it sometimes. And there's this error within the app image. So I need to help SK fix that. And I'm actually going through the Odin project with Sokyo as well, so both of us might be able to help out. Anyway, there aren't many features right now. It's actually a really good alternative to the wonderful world of Discord alternatives, not necessarily clones. Now, one consideration you have to make is that if you want to post a picture or a video on a private server, because of how much of a cost this is to SK himself, you have to pay in order to post stuff in a private server. However, if you have a public server, then and only then will you be able to do this just fine. Because again, SK would be in trouble if this were not to happen. It is a solid option, don't get me wrong. And again, without the not safe for work stuff if you're a Puritan. I'm sure there are a few of these listening to this podcast. The VPS that is used for this particular service would actually get SK in trouble if there was any NSFW found on there. Also, talk of self-deletion and things of the like are banned for obvious reasons. And yes, this was in fact a huge issue that a rule in the TOS had to be made for this purpose. Not a good idea if you ask me. Next up, we have something I was already using, though it got swamped recently at the time of recording. Fluxer. This is an AGPL3 licensed, Swedish-made alternative. It was made by one guy, however he did get 2 more people on his team, and is looking to expand the team. It does have instant messaging and VoIP similar to Discord, direct message support, group chat support, and community channel organization. Way better, actually, than even Nerimity's, from what I am aware. Markdown is also supported, and you can do multi-device shenanigans while you screen share. It does also come with noise suppression and echo cancellation, likely through some LibreWare libraries. And you have mod tools like roles, permissions, audit logs, webhooks, bots. Now, Neremity does support some of these features, but not all of them here. You get a search function. Unlike in Neremity, though I think there was a search function, there was like some weird stuff. It's just because of how expensive it is for this VPS. You get a quick switcher, so you can quickly switch your accounts if you have multiple of them. Though Soki and I do use the same computer, and we just use the same account. So that's not a big deal. You also get emoji, sticker, and media support. And that's just standard at this point. You can also style things with CSS, of which is a thing in Neremity as well. and you can even self-host it. And you can even switch between multiple instances because it's decentralized. Decentralization is how you fight for safety on the internet, because at this point, decentralizing will be your best option. Though the main instance was actually shut down because of the influx of users, and migration was apparently not that great. There are desktop clients already available for Mac, Windows, and Linux, but mobile clients are also in the works. It's just one guy who's doing all the full stack development here. So that is something to keep in mind. But otherwise, Fluxer is probably the most popular option and probably might be your best one. But there are some others if you're not into Fluxer. Case in point, Strafe Chat. I actually have used this one in the past as well. This is an AGPL3 licensed Discord alternative, which I did use in the alpha days. There actually were maybe one or two unsavory characters that were found within Strafe. Sorry, Bryden, but what happened with that attack on Nerimity by one of the users of Strafe, that was just not cool. It is in an alpha state, so it will take quite some time to get all sorts of bugs ironed out. But there are no hidden trackers or backdoors, and by default, there is end-to-end encryption. Bryden, you might want to look at XChaCha20, the best encryption algorithm, used by things like even PicoCrypt. Or yes, it's an option in KeePassXC, and I still use KeePassXC to this very day. I digress though. It does have Markdown support, code blocks are also supported here, rich embeds, whatever those are. So if you understand what rich embeds are, they are supported here. You can create and join communities as with any Discord alternative. And you have unlimited file sharing. Just be reasonable with it, but it is unlimited. You do not have any trackers or backdoors in this application because of how copyleft it is. HGPL3 is a copyleft license, just like GPL3. And pretty much all of these I have today are Libreware, in that they are copyleft in the GPL family. So I'm talking GPL3 and AGPL3 primarily. I don't see anything with LGPL, which is good because that's for libraries. Anyway, once again, you have another self-hostable thing, which is fantastic. Now, a warning for those who want to use this. It may not fit your political preferences, as the developers of this project are, politically speaking, conservative. And I happen to be center right. It doesn't mean I am like far right. I used to be far right, but not anymore. I realized the mistakes I was making while I was far right, or even alt-right, and I went back to reality here. Now, if you do not, for any reason, want to use this because the developers do not have the same political beliefs as you, just don't use it. You don't have to attack the developers for it because they're pretty chill. But if you're chill with this consideration, then you're fine to use it. If you don't want to, you shouldn't feel you have to. Now, on multiple occasions, I did speak with Bryden, one of the main developers of this project, and I even considered learning TypeScript to help with development. And TypeScript, for those that are unaware, is, think TypeScript being to JavaScript, what C++ being to C. That's basically what it is. It's a superset of JavaScript with some more strict rules and whatnot. But as of right now, I haven't been doing that because, again, I've been going through the Odin project with Sokia, of course, and we've been essentially learning the foundations before we then get into JavaScript or Ruby on Rails. A fun fact about Ruby on Rails, It is made by the same guy who would later go on to make something called Omarchy. A lot of people hate this guy because of his political beliefs. Why do we need to attack people based upon political beliefs? I think this is one of the stupidest things you can ever do. It is retarded beyond my imagination. Anyway, so that is Strafe. And I would definitely take a look into this one for sure. If you do not mind the conservative approach to this particular Discord alternative. Next up, we have Valor. Not much information here. This is the fourth of 5 that I have today. It is AGPL3 licensed, developed by a ton of volunteers. This had 3 years of development. I guess these people knew about the digital ID nonsense that was coming to Discord. This has multi-chat window support, stock tickers. Stock tickers are embedded here. There are, of course, community features such as economies and a built-in Minecraft chat. This was clearly designed for gamers, so I may have to take a look at this. It is by a dude of British and I think Czech or Serbian descent, a dude who goes by the name Spike Viper. I will link his channel below. And of course, we have most of the features of Discord because that's obvious. But since I don't know much about this one, I'm just going to move on to the 5th and final for today, which is going to be Spacebar. I used this a little bit too. It is an AGPL3 licensed Discord compatible clone, and it is self-hostable. Think of this as a reverse engineering of Discord. That's basically what this started off as. Custom clients and bots are a thing here, thank goodness. It is almost one-to-one with Discord, but there are some things that are different where you can make it a legally distinct Discord. It is highly audited and is ad-free. Encryption is also a thing here, and there are tons of themes. Oh boy, lots of themes are in this one, and I think it's actually a good idea if you ask me. Now, with all of that, you may be asking what I recommend. Now, you may be wondering if it is Nerimity. Not necessarily, but it is a close second. Instead, I would take a look at Fluxer for those who would be into that sort of thing. It already has 120,000 users and maybe even more. I don't know how long this has been worked on, but quite a long time. I know I would end up using it just fine, but mine and Sokyo's opinions might not work with the Fluxer devs. But as long as we're pretty chill about our political differences, then I think we should be okay. If we can agree to disagree, that's all we care about. But that is going to be it here for this episode. Every single one of them releases every Wednesday, if there are no scheduling conflicts, at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can listen to this podcast on Wavelake, YouTube, or any other Podcast 2.0 players such as Podverse, Fountain, and Tonopod, and many more. If you're on the YouTube side, you can copy the RSS feed located in the show notes and paste that to a Podcast 1.0 player that doesn't support the 2.0 standard. But that said, I'm out of time for today's episode. Thank you, and good night.